You know, I talked about Bankman-Fried yesterday being on track to be the first trillionaire in the country in the world. And you know whose dream that is? You know who carries that dream more than anybody probably in this whole world? Donald Trump. He wants to be the first trillionaire. Mm. But he, I I highly, highly doubt he ever will be. He's really not much of a billionaire. Many handfuls of billionaires that are much richer than him, including Musk. But probably Epstein was richer than him. So, it's just that's why he lies about the value of his properties and what money he has and why he has to rob money and take bribes from all the heads of states and all the people that want something from him, because all he cares about is money. And takes $2 billion from somebody for a pardon. He's probably selling night stays in the Lincoln bedroom. And probably gonna rent out I don't know if it'll be done in time, but the ballroom at the White House, if I rent it out to somebody that wants to have a wedding, at the White House. So, but they have to pay him a kickback to get the reservation. So, look, I don't know why you ever thought putting a owner of two failed casinos as president was going to be a good thing, or it wasn't going to be about money. So, but I'd like to say, because of Bankman-Fried, whatever his name is, Trump wants to do what he was doing. Bankman was going to become the trillionaire with his own cryptocurrency and his own crypto exchange. And he put him in jail and took him away from his computer. But Trump is using his software and whatever Bankman-Fried invented on the computer. Trump has got it, and he's using it. And he wants to create his own exchange and put his name on it. The Trump exchange, the Trump Bitcoin kind of thing. It's all crap. It's all ego. And, he has the biggest ego because he's got such a little mind. And he probably doesn't have two brain cells to rub together. But, that's why, in fact, the bank went after Trump. That was a good reason to go and put him in jail. But he also wanted to capture the trillionaire status, and Bankman got there first, and Trump would be second. And Trump's always second. He's a big number two, He'll always be number two in my book. So every time I go to the bathroom, I think of Trump. I'm surprised he's on toilet paper with the name Trump on every sheet. And every time you pull out the toilet paper to wipe your ass, it says Trump about 20 times. That would be appropriate for Trump, have his name on toilet paper, because that's about what it's worth. So, but he'll never do that. That's not dignified enough for him, He had a Trump University where he taught nothing and took thousands of dollars from you and gave you nothing that you couldn't get off the internet. So, and then everybody wanted a refund, and he fought that. He fought everybody on their refund. So, it's all a big scam. But he wants to get rid of the U.S. dollar and take it out of the leading currency of the world. And he wants to replace it with his own Bitcoin, his own crypto, and his own exchange. And trillionaire, if he did that, he'd be multi-trillionaire, multi-trillionaire. And for one man to have that kind of power, and to one man to own all the cryptocurrency and have it be the the lead currency for the world. First off, that would help Russia and China and North Korea and anybody that's got sanctions against them, because it still would be untraceable, and they would that's how they do it now. Russia or North Korea buys everything they buy it with crypto, and there's no way to trace it, and it goes under the radar, doesn't get caught by sanctions, and they get anything they want. So Putin is highly invested in crypto. So Iran is too. So you want to hurt these people? Get rid of Bitcoin. Get rid of crypto. Make crypto crash, and you'll bankrupt Russia. You'll bankrupt North Korea. You'll put them in a hole so deep they never can get out of it. But that's what they want to do to us. You see, it's a leading currency of the world is crypto, and it's Trump crypto. What is crypto? It's imaginary money. It's imaginary value that an imaginary Bitcoin is now imaginarily valued at like $100,000 for one Bitcoin. That's nice. Sounds a whole mouthful of words I just used right there that mean nothing. And that Bitcoin is worth nothing. And it doesn't take much for them to say that $100,000 Bitcoin is now worth $2. Wouldn't you love that if you own that Bitcoin? And that's what they'll do if Trump coin becomes the leading currency. They'll just wipe out everybody's wealth. You know, all your life savings, when you put it in crypto, you had $100,000. Now you got $2. So, and that's not the risk of turning everything into crypto. That's what's going to happen if you do it. So, I think it can be done like replacing the dollar with crypto, but owned by the government, not Trump. Owned by the United States, and controlled by the United States, and just the same thing as the dollar. Just a switch. And the dollar is kind of crypto now anyway, in a way, because wire transfers and stuff. Nobody transfers cash. It's all done by wire, so it's still, but it's traceable. And but it doesn't matter. Look. Our U.S. banks, Chase Manhattan, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, they launder about $280 billion worth of drug money from the cartels in their banks. They launder it every year. $280 billion. Cartel money, illegal money. The government knows they're doing it because it's the government's money. We're the drug dealers, not the cartels. The cartels are the guys that handle the actual packages of cocaine, but we handle the money. And so don't be fooled to think we don't deal drugs. And we deal plenty of drugs. And fentanyl is basically, it's just population control. They love that it kills people. When a 20-year-old guy dies from a fentanyl overdose, the CIA says, job well done. Thank you very much. That's one guy that's not going to have kids. We don't have to build a house for him. We don't have to get him a job. Made our lives a lot easier. He's not going to collect Social Security. He's not going to have hospital bills he can't pay. He's dead. So, job well done. One less person to worry about. And with all the fentanyl people, they don't care about the people. If you do fentanyl, like I said just on the other video I made, they're going to blame you. Oh, you shouldn't have done fentanyl. But they're bringing it into the country in truckloads and giving it away and putting it in pot, putting it in everything, and killing people. But it's your fault. It's your fault. You did it. You should have done heroin. You should have done heroin. You wouldn't have got the fentanyl. So it's your fault. You know, and ecstasy pills, they had ecstasy pills that were actually fentanyl pills, and they were killing people. So you shouldn't have done ecstasy. Ecstasy's illegal. So what are you doing ecstasy for? Well, if you died, too bad. You're just one less person we have to worry about now. So, like I said, job well done. And if you notice, we're not going after Mexico, really. We're not doing anything about Mexico. We're going after Venezuela. We're using El Salvador, not Mexico. Because Mexico is our cartels, our drug dealer. That's our drug dealer operation house. That's where the drug dealing houses itself. But that's our operation. We're the one that brings it across the border. We're the one that protects it and makes sure it gets distributed properly. And the money is straight. You don't rip off the cartel because you're ripping off the U.S. government if you do that. And they don't have that. So, you got to feed that $280 billion laundering fund that goes on in the banking industry. So, the lies, they never stop. And you don't see this on CBS News or ABC News. You're never going to see that. So, we started the drug war. That's when we amped up the drug importation of drugs. And we took it over. We weren't fighting drugs, we were importing drugs. So we do fight drugs. It's people that don't listen to us or try to do it on their own and aren't sanctioned by the DEA to import drugs. If they're not sanctioned, then they get arrested. You know? So, President of Honduras probably tried to go on his own, did things on his own. So they took him out. Paid Trump $2 billion, got a pardon, he's back in business. That's how we run business. If you pay, you play. And that's all they care about. So, anyway, I'm keeping an eye open. I report everything I know. I'm not sanctioned by any. I say whatever I want. I don't care what they say. I try not to curse. I try not to upset people in that way. And, you gotta admit, a lot of the people that die from fentanyl, they're Spanish, they're black. Job well done. That's all I got to say.